summer fun with Miracle Canine Training.
We just hand out trazodone prescriptions.
Yeah. Summer safety.
Yeah. If you have if this will be your first 4th of July with a puppy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because I really like the way that I did things with Pip. And
I did stuff with him very specifically
there's
his
a
first
lot of
4th of July.
like,
I didn't do shit for Sully.
Yeah.
That's
okay. You weren't a dog trainer yet.
Yeah.
Seamus is like, actually, I took him to the fireworks.
Do you remember when?
And I had him off leash, running amok.
Yeah, you came in.
I wasn't stupid about it, but I definitely didn't do anything about it.
I remember you saw that water bottle that Sully absolutely destroyed and chewed, and you brought it in for like a year. And I just remember seeing your water bottle, and Krista would always be like, "Are you using that?"
Oh, yeah.
And it was like Sully's art.
Yep. The one that he just absolutely chew apart.
He said, "This is for you, Dad. You'll always remember me."
This one's for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if it's your first 4th of July and you have a puppy, I'm going to see if you guys agree with me on this.
Okay.
So I have a theory. I think that there is certainly things that you can do with your puppy that will like impact whether they're scared of thunder and fireworks. But I think if they're going to be scared of it, they're just going to be scared of it.
Like genetically.
I don't know that there's really a lot you can do to like make or break it.
Yeah.
Like the real severe cases that you see of like the dogs that like hide
sound
behind the
phobia.
dryer and like shake during
Yeah.
thunderstorms and shit. I don't think you could look at that and be like, "Welp, you should have done this when they were a puppy."
Yeah.
I don't know
it's-
that it would actually make that much of a difference.
There's
I think
a
it
big
could make a
genetic
little
component.
bit.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
Like one out of my dogs absolutely hates thunder, and when there's thunder, he's like beside himself. He's shaking and hiding, following me around, wants constant reassurance, and my other dogs are like this when it's thundering.
Yeah, it's
So-
like it's like almost like it's a physiological response, like
Yeah.
from their nervous system that they like genuinely cannot control.
And it's like people try to recreate it with the sounds like on YouTube, but it really is, I think, atmospheric pressure, and it's something that we can't hear. And
I think it's like the vibration of it all too, like how the ground vibrates a little bit and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But all that being said, like I did do things specifically with him to just like further guarantee that he wouldn't care about fireworks and thunder. And honestly, I kind of forgot it was the 4th of July until, because like my husband was working and I was home with him. I'd only had him for maybe a couple weeks, and we were like sitting on the couch watching TV, and I started to hear the fireworks that people were setting off, and I was like, oh, it is the 4th of July. And so it was like probably 9:30, 10 o'clock at night or something, and he was actually asleep, and like he woke up a little bit like when he like heard them. And so I like intentionally woke him up, took him outside, took a bunch of treats, and every time one went off, I gave him a treat. One went off, I gave him a treat. We did a little training exercise, like following me around, like very basic stuff. And so the idea with that is that like they start to associate the sounds with positive reinforcement, and so it actually creates like a positive association through classical conditioning.
Yes. That's like exactly what I did with Pip, because I was determined to not have her be anxious. And I think we have the grace of having our dogs be genetically sound.
Yeah.
So I'm not recommending this if your dog is not trained and your dog is a flight risk. Absolutely use safety. But I think there is being something to be said about exposing them and creating a positive association if you have that time as a puppy.
Yeah.
Exactly what I did with Pip. There was like people on my street setting off fireworks. We went out and we skipped dinner that night, and I just fed her, and she was like looking around, she didn't care at all. And now she's not scared of anything.
Yep.
Like thunder, fireworks, things like that.
Yes, Sully was about like 4 or 5 months, I think, his first 4th of July. And where we were living at the time, the neighbors across the street would set off fireworks in the street. So like
Back it up, Terry.
house, yeah,
Put it
the
in reverse,
house
Terry.
was shaking. And so like there was definitely a point of management. I don't remember if I actually took him out because they were like literally right outside the house. But obviously that close, like it was definitely loud enough and again, like feeling the house shake and everything. I definitely remember doing like management inside the house, but I can't remember if we actually like went outside or not. But basically the same thing, just like letting him have the outlet of kind of moving around the house. But if he was curious about it or startled by it or something, just kind of like letting him acknowledge it, you know, and then rewarding, you know, for the positive reinforcement. But
one of the worst things you can do is comfort in that moment.
Yeah.
And I understand like people are trying to be empathetic, but in Nelson's case specifically, if I coddle him or I'm petting him, he like wants to crawl into my skin, and it's very like overstimulating for me, and he won't stop. So the more that I'm comforting him or the more that we're petting him or saying, oh, it's okay, he's like,
you create that
once
like response for them.
and he
like
needs like constant.
Yeah. It's almost like
It's reassurance.
it's reassuring that it is something scary or something like that, you know, where it's just like, yeah, it's okay. Like to us, it's like we're trying to comfort, but to them, they're like, all right, I need to be by mom,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah.
And last time there was a thunderstorm, he was doing that, and I was like, I don't want to be heartless here, but I put him in his crate and I went to sleep.
Yeah.
And being in the crate, like one, I had the peace of mind, and two, like he's okay. Like I know that he's not going to have a heart attack. It restricts his movement, so he can't pace around and poop or pee in the house.
Right.
And I think don't rule out your crate. Don't rule out how important it is to crate your dog during that time. So we're reducing the movement. And especially if you have people over, you're having a couple drinks on the 4th of July, people are coming in and out. You want to be really careful with your dog in that scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How about, how do you feel with like, all right, setting an example of fires go off, dog sprints into the crate. Do you leave the crate open? Do you close the crate? Do you give them treats in the crate?
I would.
Do you just let them be?
I'd let them be in the crate, and like, yes, you can positively condition that, but if a dog is that scared of something already, their likelihood of wanting to take food is going to go drastically down. So you might not have the opportunity to be able to work them with food, and people can kind of get stuck on that because they're like, I have to make a positive association with fireworks. And then they become frustrated, and then you end up paying so much more attention to your dog when they kind of just want to chill and be alone.
I think a distinguishing factor, and ironically, I just did a lesson with one of my clients today that has a really noise sensitive puppy. And so the lesson essentially was like me dropping like metal bowls on the ground and like the big empty water jug and dragging a metal chair. And every time a noise was made, she was just giving him treats. And it started by him like bolting and hitting the end of the leash every time, like freaking out, to where I was literally dropping like a metal pail a foot away from him, and he was sitting still and he was just like looking at his owner for positive reinforcement. And that was with no corrections. I was just positive reinforcement with that stuff. And like, I think the distinguishing factor in kind of what you're saying, Seamus, is that is the dog going into a very instinctual, primitive, non-logical space when they're getting spooked, or are they like, I'm uncomfortable, I'm going to go in my crate and I'm just going to chill out in here for a little bit. To me, it would be like if I saw my dog, a boom of like fire, like thunder goes off, and they freak out and they run into their crate, and then they're like in their crate like this. Back legs are like,
exactly.
Like
you can
they
hear them.
like they go into like a complete like bolt mode. That I would be like, okay, I need to get them out and I need to address that. If they like wake up because the thunder goes and they look around and then they get a little nervous and then they get up and then they just make the conscious choice, I think I'm going to go in my crate because that's like more comfortable to be right now.
Safe space.
That would be fine. So I think to me, I look at it as like, are they still able to make choices in that moment? Or are they just like almost completely blacking out and going into this very primitive, like, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
I have to get out of here.
Yes. And we all know dogs that act that way or have worked with dogs that act that way. And I think it is really important to show dogs like you can be scared, but you cannot bolt away from me and you cannot flee from me.
Yes. Yep.
And that's where people are like, well, that's not fair to the dog. Yes, it is. It's fair because I don't want my dog dying.
Yes.
Right.
And you can be scared, but I'm going to protect you. You know,
Yep.
we're not going to let you run into traffic.
Yeah, so because that was like they had just gotten back from a trip down to Tennessee, and she had mentioned that like on a really busy strip they were walking on, all the noise sensitivity he had, and he was like bolting and freaking out. And I kind of explained the same thing to her. I was like, he can be a reasonable amount of startled by things, but his response needs to be like, oh, okay. And then we got to make sure his recovery time is good. We don't want him to go into that flighty bolting thing. Because anytime a dog bolts when they're scared, like that is just a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
That can't be happening.
It's okay to have emotions, but there are proper ways to deal with those emotions too.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where being a good owner is important, where it's like you can notice that stuff and like work through it with the dog. You know, if you want to help the dog truly, don't let it just crawl underneath the bed or the couch or something and let it sit there for 4 or 5 hours.
Shaking
Like help it try to associate differently with that noise, the firework, the thunder, whatever it may be. You know,
just like reducing the movement. Like we just had a board and train in. It was like a sibling pair, and this dog has terrible thunder aversion, terrible firework aversion. And he's like, what do I do for the 4th of July? Because this is going to be terrible. And they had never really worked on crating the dog before, or bed stays. So I just suggested, like, this 4th of July, if you're going to be home with him, put him on a bed stay and reduce his movement to go bolt under your bed. And he's like, well, it makes him feel better when he's under the bed. And, like, it makes him feel better to hide. And it's just like, yes, that may be true, but does it really? Because he's shaking under the bed.
Right.
He mentioned that when he was under the bed, he opened cuts on his paws and like made them raw again. So we're not really able to see the dog. So by putting them on a bed, we're saying like, hey, just chill out in one spot. You know the commands.
Yeah. Well, we had that one dog that literally had a bald head because she was crawling under the bed or the couch, whatever it was, so much. Like that's not ideal.
It's
And
not a
also,
healthy
like,
state.
how do we know they
and she's doing
actually
great
feel
now, by
better?
the way.
Yeah.
I don't like. We can't prove that. You can't prove that to me that they actually feel better.
Right.
And I'd rather have eyes on my dog. And like if I was doing a bed stay with Nelson, like at least reducing his movement so he can't crawl all over me and then just like spew his anxious feelings at me. And like, yes, I love him and I want to comfort him, but I just always have to realize that that's not his dog's love language. That's not how they work.
Yeah. You're not doing him any favors. Like I wouldn't confidently say that like giving your dog excessive amounts of affection when they're fearful is necessarily going to make your situation worse, but it 100% isn't going to do anything to ever make it better at all. It's not going to.
And it stresses the human out because you feel physically tied to the dog in that scenario. And you're like, I can't go see fireworks because I have to be home for my dog.
Yeah.
Or
That's
he's
a
going
good
to
one.
eat my
They get that a lot.
drywall.
Yeah.
And then people feel incapable, and you should feel capable of going places and getting your crate practice in prior and looking at it rather than just once a year on 4th of July, we have to get through it. How can I work my dog through sound aversions in our day to day? You know?
That's literally when people are just like, let's just turn to medication.
Yes.
Let's do the easy route. And
Yes.
just drug my dog up.
And I was just telling them before the podcast started, like there's a reputable trainer recently that was like tips for 4th of July. And it was like one tip was like, make sure your refill on trazodone is, you know, current.
Yeah. Not ideal.
Excuse me?
Not ideal.
Like there may be like very severe cases of like sound aversion where your dog is just so genetically
Yeah.
like messed up that knock them out, whatever. You know what I mean? If that's like what you got to do to get through it, like
That's okay.
that's okay.
Yeah.
You know, that's fine. But that shouldn't be the only thing you do.
Yeah, if that's like your go-to
Like if
move.
that's part of what you do, okay.
Yeah.
But like that should not be the only
in
thing
your
you do.
routine. Like if it actually helps, like if that medication significantly helps you, then by all means, keep using it, but also try to find other solutions that we can,
Yeah.
help our dogs feel better about it without just drugging them.
Yeah.
But I'm sure Trazodone made that post. They're
Yep.
like,
Yeah.
is
It's
Trazodone
sponsored.
in the room with us?
Sponsored.
So yes.
What about a situation where owner brings a dog out to help work through the fireworks and stuff like that? Is it okay to not do the whole show? Would you
bring them actually to the fireworks?
Well, no, just kind of like
Yeah.
how you were saying, with just like positive reinforcement,
Like
bringing them out and like
good
rewarding
10 to
when they
15
hear it.
minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
keep it short, sweet. I like when I did it with Pip, I was walking around for an hour, but she wasn't displaying signs of distress. She was more curious than anything. So we walked around and kind of got her body moving and gave her an outlet exercise wise. But I wouldn't take her somewhere really densely crowded, like to a fireworks show, because not only is it stressful for fireworks, but people, and that's just a lot of overstimulation.
Too loud.
Yes.
So know
their
your
little ears.
know your limits, know the dog's limits, kind of thing,
Yeah.
Yes.
and just like read the dog.
Yes.
Yeah. And don't overlook like play too. Like if you have a dog who really likes to play, like ball, toys, whatever. If this is their first time being like around like noises like that, I would definitely put them on some kind of long line, even if you're in a fenced in backyard, because you never know how your dog's going to react. And if their dog, they go off, your dog freaks out, it could try to climb the fence, it could jump it, it could, whatever. But you could put them on a long line and literally play fetch with them as the fireworks are going off.
Yeah.
Play overpowers so much with dogs. Like even just run, like I remember part of what I did with Snoopy was we literally just ran around the front yard together.
Yeah.
And he was just like, yay! And like the fireworks are going off and
Yeah.
we're just playing and rough housing and stuff. And like he just like, it wasn't even a thought in his head what was going on in the background because he was so preoccupied with what we were doing. So
Yeah.
making it really fun and lighthearted can really help.
And I think a lot of the anxiety comes from the human side of things too. Like when Nelson gets like that, like it triggers my anxiety because I'm like, I don't know what to do with you. Like you're stressing me out. And then I just have to take a step back and realize like you are my dog and I'm supposed to take care of you, but I'm not feeding into this anymore. And I'm not going to allow you to ruin my night because you're feeling anxious. So go in your crate, chill out for a little bit. We'll reconvene in the morning. And you know what? He's always okay in the morning.
Yep. They'll be okay. It's not going to kill him.
Yeah. Making sure you have a secure collar as well. Like look in a martingale or some kind of safety slip lead when you are working out. So there's no, slipping out of the collar because that can be very quick and it can happen in a second. And you just want to be really responsible with the type of collar you're choosing. Use extra safety precautions that day just so you feel like you can be successful.
Yep. And expect that, like, honestly, the whole week of the 4th, like, the 4th is going
It's
to
not
be...
just the 4th.
That's very true.
it's going to be the whole week.
And I'm not suffering for a week with
Right.
this. So it's just like, let's address it and let's have a routine that we're doing and helping our dog feel better about it.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
if that's a combination of if medication really helps and training, then by all means do what helps. But I wouldn't want to drag my dog for a whole week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess you can, with fireworks, because it is normal for like people to just be setting it off the whole week or so, to see it more as a learning opportunity of just like, okay, 4th night in a row, we're leading up to the big day, let's try to see what we can get them out,
Nobody's dying.
like I feel like a lot of people, it almost gets them more anxious as it leads up because they're like, here and there fireworks are going off in the distance or something, and so the dog's getting scared and they're already kind of like dreading it, and so yeah.
I think when I was working with German short hair pointers when I was little or like a teenager, one thing that they would do very early on was go and like, so they're not gun shy because they're hunting dogs, is they'd take them and put them in the truck and they would go like shoot guns for a long time because they could not have hunting dogs be gun shy. So they'd be super fearful. So I think genetically sound dogs that from puppies, like we have a lot of opportunity to make sure these things aren't inherently
Yeah.
terrible for them.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if you do have a puppy, I would consider trying to get out and about. Like, obviously, keep a safe distance from fireworks. But getting them out and about and like positively reinforcing it is a good idea.
Yeah, I think it's like, I guess you could kind of look at it as like, if you have a puppy who's like genetically sound, every new thing they encounter, you get to directly influence like whether they see it as like neutral, positive, or negative, really. And it's like, there are some puppies that are not genetically sound that you don't really get much say in that. You know what I mean? It's like something happens and physiologically they've already decided, I hate that.
Yeah.
And so it's like you're starting at a negative instead of like a 0.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're having to do a little extra work to like build that back
Yes.
up.
Yep.
And fear periods too. Like if you're in the midst of a fear period, it can be extra difficult because you can think that that's just a personality trait of your dog. But the dog that I had when Pip was a puppy versus the dog Pip is now, like she's not fearful of those things because we intentionally tried to work through them. When I did notice a plastic bag blew in the wind and she screamed, or
Her screaming stage was ridiculous.
her screaming. For a long time, I was like, I don't think I like Pip.
Oh my god.
And I
It's
was like-
understandable.
Remember when she saw Lumos for the first time?
And it's not like just like, oh, eep, a little. It's a blood curdling,
Like
Yeah.
pig squeal scream.
pig squeal that it is going to attract dogs to
Yes.
attack her.
Yes.
She's
She
already
met
so
my
small.
Dutchie for the first time. They didn't even actually no, they didn't even meet. He
She just saw
existed.
him.
Yeah.
He existed. She saw him, and mind you, my Dutchie's like very good with little dogs
Yeah.
and like very neutral with them. Yeah, and he was probably like 15 feet away from her. Like he was a ways
Yeah.
away, and she just turned and looked at him and just blood curdling
Yes.
scream. That was probably
Yeah.
the biggest dog she'd seen up
Yeah.
to that point.
She
God
was like,
bless her.
Whoa!
Yeah.
That screaming phase was, I was like, I don't like her.
Sounds like R2D2. Like when he gets
Yes,
shocked.
it was bad.
Yes. And like that developed if like my husband walked toward her, she started to create like a negative association with him being in his boots, like his cop boots. So if he walked toward her, she'd be like, and he'd be like,
She said, "A cab."
yeah. Fuck the police. So there was a lot to
my
work
gosh.
through, and I truly didn't know how it was going to turn out, and I stuck with it. And I think Pip's a lot more confident of a dog than she once was.
Yeah.
Now that she's like a full-grown adult.
Is she?
Yeah,
She's how old
is she
now?
2.
2.
She's
Holy
turning
shit.
3 in October.
Yeah,
Wow.
Snoop is 3. He's 3.5.
My gosh.
Isn't that crazy?
Time
is
flies.
insane.
I know. I'm like getting like memory videos on my social media that are like 3 years old from when he was like a little baby,
Oh my
and I got him
gosh.
from the breeder.
Yeah, I
Snoop,
thought Pip was
you
like
read.
maybe just over a year.
Yeah, Justin hates when I'm like, Pip is an adult, and he's like, no, she's not. Don't call her that.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, something smells. I'm sorry, guys. Something you just saw me like sniff his whole butt. Something smells terrible, and it's not you. I'm so sorry.
What does it smell like?
It smells like anal glands.
Oh,
Like a dog busted open their anal glands somewhere in here. Maxine?
Maxine.
I'm sorry.
She's out.
I
She's
just have to
sleeping.
like try to solve
Rule
that.
it
It's
out.
not you. Don't be embarrassed. Let me clarify it, everyone. Snoop does not smell. He'd like you to know.
Snoop does not smell.
Snoop does not smell. Snoop does not smell. Okay.
He's like, let me just make sure.
You're right. He said, let me just check these things out.
Um,
Snoop. Yeah, but it doesn't smell bad.
I'm like, is it me?
I know. It's like,
Is it me? Is it me, Jesus?
is it me, Jesus? I don't think it's me. I don't know. It's
Maybe it's the
suspicious.
furniture.
It might be the furniture.
Oh,
Uh oh.
I smell something now.
Is it?
I don't know. It smells a little.
Is it me?
Is it you?
No,
put
it's
deodorant
not
on
you.
this
It's not
morning.
you.
I don't think
You
it's
don't
you.
smell.
You've never smelled bad before, Seamus, so I would be
Yes.
surprised if it was you.
I don't know.
Oh. It's these treats that are in my treat pouch.
Mm.
We solved it. It's like gross salmon treats.
Oh, yeah.
That's it. Okay. Sorry, guys. Crisis averted.
Anywho,
Anyhow.
what else can we do to have a safe 4th of July?
I would say don't take your dogs to see any fireworks. That's too loud for them.
Yeah.
Just like their ears.
I think it's
them little
like kind of
earmuffs,
fair
maybe.
to say that like no dog truly enjoys fireworks.
No.
No.
Like they
No
might be
animal
okay
does.
with it, but yeah, but
They
like
tolerate
it's-
it.
Yeah.
Do you see those like posts on Facebook like of people every year? There's that person that's like, please stop the fireworks. It scares
yeah.
the dogs and the squirrels.
Yes.
And it's just like this huge campaign to end fireworks.
I
And
love fireworks.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys, but they're never going to stop fireworks because Fluffy has anxiety about it.
They're
no
not.
Especially
matter
4th
how
of July.
much.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're not doing
It's
it.
America.
If they haven't
It's
stopped
America's birthday.
fireworks for the sake of veterans with PTSD, they're not going to do it for Fluffy.
That is
No.
very fair point.
And
Okay,
so
like-
you need to have your dog exist in a world where fireworks and thunder exist, and they have a set of expectations you're holding them accountable for, where you're not running, fleeing, running into the street. You don't have to love it, but you can't show these fleeing behaviors or destructive behaviors or unsafe behaviors. And it's up to you as the owner to navigate that with your dog.
Yeah.
And I think it's worth maybe like a good little test you could do is if you have a dog that's fearful of the fireworks and they are seemingly like, you know, kind of what I described earlier. Like they hear the fireworks, they're not bolting or fleeing, but they're like, I'm uncomfortable. I'm going to go lay in the corner. I'm going to go lay in my crate, whatever. If you recall them, will they listen?
That's a good point.
Will they listen?
Or are they going to like run around like a chicken with their head cut off? And
Or are they just going to not do it?
Just shaking their
and
boots.
shake
Yep.
and not want to come to you. Like if your dog cannot perform skills that they could typically perform on an everyday basis or understand or know, that is a good indicator that you should work on that. Because it's okay
That's
if
a really
they're
good point.
nervous in the corner. That's fine. You can be nervous in the corner for 5 hours while the storm goes on. But if I tell you come, you should be able to overcome your fear and come to me and listen to what I'm asking you to do. A good example is like Snoop. I might have told this story. He was dumb one day and
Snoop.
in the middle of a thunderstorm, like we're talking lightning, thunder, pitch black outside, raining cats and dogs. He decides he wants to go on a little adventure. God bless him.
No.
So this was probably like 2 years ago. It's been a while. I got home from work and I had him and Lumos and I let them out into the front yard to go to the bathroom. And I turned my back for 2 seconds to like grab my bag. And I saw that him and Lumos were like around like the corner of the house. Right. And I'm assuming they saw something. They probably saw an animal or something. And Lumos like stopped and like turned and came back around. And I'm looking and I'm like, Snoop is not there.
Yep.
He is not there.
Moan and panic.
And so I'm like, what the heck? And so I say no, and I had his e-collar on and I turned it all the way up and I gave him a big correction for it, and his little booty came running back around.
He said, nope, nope, nope.
Exactly. And like
Oopsie.
in situations like that, that's when the training is like so important.
Yes.
Because it's like all of that going on, all of that chaos and all of that crazy, like I need to know that like I'm confident in his ability to, even though he should not have gone around the corner when he shouldn't have, I was confident that he knew his commands and that he would respond to that e-collar correction the appropriate
He
way.
knows what that meant because you did work prior and you're not
Exactly.
just starting on the thunderstorm day.
Yep, exactly.
Yep.
So those are the moments where it's like all of the training that you put in leads up to like a really potentially dangerous and scary moment like that, where you're like, I'm really glad I was prepared for something like that rather than that happening and you being like, well, crap. Similarly, I had clients tell me the same thing once with Lucy and Jack, those two pit bulls that come for boarding every once in a while. With Lucy, the one, she used to be so fearful, very noise aversive, like reactive, all the 9 yards, right? And they had, it was a situation where like something they'd been doing for a very long time, had no issues with it. I think it was like they got to their parents' house or something and they'd usually like open the door. She'd wait, they'd call her out, and off leash, they would like walk her down to the yard or whatever to play. And the one day they like open the door and she jumps down and just
Oh my god.
after something, right? And so they like correct her and make her come back, and like it was so uneventful. Like it was just like, you know, nothing horrible happened, nothing terrible happened. Like they dealt with it, everything was fine, the training was great. And they told me about that, and they're like, we just like in that moment we're like, oh my god, like that was like so worth everything that we've invested monetarily, that all the work that we've done, because like we would have never even thought that that's something she would have done, but yet she did, and we were able to deal with it, and like she's safe, and like nothing terrible happened, and like that. Those are the moments where you're like, that was all worth it.
And like training for the instances where your dog has a panic moment, and that we can train them through that panic. And a lot of like force-free trainers will be like, never train them when they're over a threshold. And it's like, train them when they're over threshold, because they have to be able to listen to you when they're stressed and scared. It's not that I'm causing that stress and scared, like I'm not intentionally doing that, but they have to be able to listen when things around them are happening.
Oh yeah, life is gonna happen.
Yes.
And like, even, you know, like no dog is perfect.
Right.
Like my dogs still do stuff to this day where I'm like, where the heck did that come from? Like it that's just dogs. Like they're animals, they have a mind of their own.
Right.
So it's like you can't ever, their behavior isn't always indicative of like what kind of owner you are, or, you know, how hard you try. It's just, they're going to do silly things sometimes. And so we have to try to like be as prepared as possible to manage those things and have training in place to combat those things when they happen.
And it can be truly scary. Like when you do have those moments of like, oh shit, my dog's like running because they're scared of something. Like Minnow, for example, has a huge aversion to bonfires, and he like hates the bonfire, and he stands at the door like away from the fire and he's just like shaking, and then
like
he'll
the
try
crackling and stuff.
Yes, and he'll try to nest in the grass, so he'll walk around the yard like all robotically and like, and he's like trying to make a nest to lay down in, and he's like trying to get comfortable. And I could look at that and be like, oh, I have to work on this. But do I want him to be scared of fire? I don't want him coming over the fire.
Right.
And being like, I want to get in that. Like, we just laugh at him. We look at him and we're like, you're fine.
I wish Cash was scared of fire. He's caught his tail on fire almost
So
3
he's
times.
such an idiot. So he's just like
be toddling around, and he'll turn around in his big poofy tail. I'm like, stop.
Toonie's like that too. Toonie like gets on the fire, and I'm like, you're gonna get a burn.
Star
spot.
used to be like that too. I remember
Yes.
Star used to be like, "Oh, this feels nice," and he'd like
You'd
lean
have to
on
like
the fire.
push him back, because then he'd get burn spots on his fur.
Yeah.
He was fine.
Oh my
Yeah,
He was
god.
fine.
Yeah, nothing ever
He wasn't burned, but he was close to it.
Yeah. I think what you brought up though is a good point of how not everything needs to be a big deal. Like Cash, for whatever reason, the same one who's not scared of fire, is so weird about like hand drills that like if I use a drill, no, like just like an actual like drill. If I use a drill and he hears it, again, he doesn't panic, but he like gets up and he just leaves.
Yep. He said, "Nope."
And if I have to go in that room with it or something, he just gets up and he leaves. And he's like, I want nothing to do with that.
Yes.
And like, it's such a weird thing. And I could look at that and could I do like counter conditioning to sure, but like what what's the
Why
point?
do I want
Like,
to?
it doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
I don't drill every day, you know.
Yeah, and it doesn't
I
matter.
don't need his help to drill, so it's not like
Yeah.
he needs to be there.
Exactly. And if he was like panicking, like I
Yeah.
described earlier, sure, I would work on it.
Or attacking the drill.
Yes.
Or attacking the blow dryer.
Doing something
attacking things.
inappropriate
Yeah.
in the presence of it or something, but like him just being like, no, thank you, and leaving, that's fine.
Yep.
Yeah.
Doesn't need to be a big deal.
Yeah. And don't let it be a big deal for you, you know? People
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
overthink that stuff for sure.
I
Oh,
definitely,
yes.
like, when I was a younger dog trainer, I was like, my dogs have to be perfect because I'm a dog trainer. And it's like, my dogs are perfect for me, and they don't do things that annoy me because I control that. So if Minnow doesn't like the fire and he wants to go be robotic and make himself a nest in the grass, by all means, go ahead and do that, buddy.
Yes. Yeah, and I think that if you have a dog who is weird about certain things or nervous with stuff or just like genetically like more predisposed to being nervous, like allowing yourself to get so overwhelmed and focused on like, why are they scared? Why are they scared? I want to fix it. Why are they scared? Like, you can't fix it. It's there's literally no reason to like try to figure out why or try to come up with all these reasons. Like, don't.
They were abused in the past.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
let it be.
Yes.
You know, like,
It's when management comes into play.
yeah,
Unless
and
it's
it's
unsafe behavior, inappropriate behavior, let it
yes, yes, exactly. Like I have a client with a dog who's very, very nervous and stuff like that with new situations, and it's like we have the dog to a point where she's not bolting away anymore when she sees things that scare her. But yeah, when she's out in public, her tail is tucked and she is nervous and she is looking and she's doing this. I mean, we're doing we're doing everything we possibly can.
Yeah.
And so beyond that, like, you just have to let it go and
Yeah.
let it be. You can only control the things you can control, and I can't control a dog's emotions.
Yeah.
I can't. And I'm
Right.
only
Help.
going to like overwhelm myself and stress myself out if the whole time I'm out with my dog I'm like, she looks scared, she looks nervous, why is she scared, why is she,
Yeah.
I don't know,
Change your mindset.
because there's something weird happening
Right.
in there.
Yeah,
I
like-
can't.
Are they doing the things that I asked them to do? If I say come and we're walking, even if she looks scared, is she able to follow along and come with me? Is
Yep.
she able to stick with me? And you need to look at those as like, those are the wins. And sometimes as dog owners, dog trainers, you can get too fixated on like what the dog is not doing right. And then you really have to say, what wins did the dog have in that scenario? And
Yeah.
like count the small things because there are wins. And it's not as devastating as it seems.
Yeah.
Reflect on yourself as well. I feel like it's
Are
like
you anxious?
well that, and it's just like, are you doing something that isn't beneficial to the dog? You know, like taking them to go see fireworks at a park where there's going to be
Yeah, like, is it
hundreds of people or
necessary?
something. Right. It's just like, don't ask yourself why my dog is scared or why they hate fireworks if you're doing that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I think that goes without saying, but just to say it. You know?
No, I think that's worth
It's
bringing
like-
up of like, it very well could be a situation where part of the reason you are so upset your dog is so scared of things and so nervous and looks so uncomfortable is because you really wish you just had a different dog.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to like let that go and be like, wow, I wanted the dog that I could take everywhere and do everything with, and it would just be fine and neutral and love it. And I didn't end up with that. And so
And
now
that's
I have to
okay.
be able to cope with that and figure out that like, I don't have to take my dog everywhere and try to force them to be that
Yes.
dog that I
Yeah.
originally wanted.
Right.
I could just leave them
good point.
home and
And
go to the
realize-
store by myself.
Yeah. Like what situations can be stressful for dogs? Like back in my early days of trying shit with Pip, I somehow ended up, like I didn't intentionally do this, but we ended up at Pins, which is a bar that has like bowling and arcade games. It's very loud and it was dog friendly. And I was like, my friends were going and I was like, I guess I'll go. And Pip was like, and I was just like, she was a Chihuahua. So
Yeah.
at the time I was just like holding her and I was like, I have to go. She fucking hates this. And Sunday would go to somewhere like that and fall asleep like Maxine is
Yeah.
and just pass out. And she is a dog that I can take anywhere with me and she'll never get stressed out.
Yep.
She's like, sweet, I like it here. And that's okay to have dogs that aren't patio dogs. Or
Yeah. And even a dog that's like usually confident and fine, sometimes they have an off day and you don't have to make a big deal out of it.
Right.
Like Snoop is a very confident guy. I take him a lot of different places. He's chill, he's cool, whatever. We recently like went to go get ice cream at the place down the road where we've gone a million times. We walk down there. There's always a bunch of kids and people around, whatever. And like my stepson like pointed out, he's like, why does Snoop look like that? And Snoop's like tail was down and he was like, his eyes were open.
you're like, ew.
And he was like looking around. He was looking very Chihuahua.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know. Oh, well, you know what I mean? And I just like went about, he wasn't barking. He wasn't lunging. He wasn't bolting. He was just standing.
Enjoying himself.
Yeah. For whatever reason, he was not in the mood.
Yep.
You know what I mean? To be in that environment. And okay, we got our
We're
stuff.
here.
Exactly. We got our stuff. We got him a pup cup, whatever. Suddenly his mood changed once
Yeah.
he got a pup
I'm
cup.
sure.
This man and his
that
food.
will do it.
That'll do it. But it's just like, I didn't go home then and rack my brain and be like, why did that happen?
Right.
Oh my goodness. What is he regressing? Is he a fearful dog all of a sudden? Like I really try to encourage my clients, like, don't worry too much about something unless it's a dangerous behavior.
Yeah.
But don't worry too much about something unless it starts to become a pattern.
Yes.
If
Yeah.
then
That's a good
all of
way
a
to put it.
sudden, every single time I took him somewhere he was behaving like that, I'd be like, okay, we got to do something about this.
catch
Yeah.
it early on, like
Yeah.
Spork in the softball incident of
Yeah.
2024. That
The foul ball incident.
yes, and we addressed that almost in the same week that it happened, and
Well, because you noticed that it wasn't just like that walk that sucked then. It was like you tried to take him for more walks and he was still very clearly distressed. So it wasn't like a one-time incident. It affected his behavior then moving forward. So you had to address it right away
Yes.
because it was becoming a pattern.
Yeah. Mhm.
Right. But a lot of times dogs just do weird shit sometimes
Yeah.
and there's no rhyme or reason to it. Like I had a client once and she was like, it was an adult dog, not elderly, maybe like 3 or 4. And she was like, we came home one day and he had like peed all over his dog bed in his kennel. And he's never done that before. Like, what do we need to do? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, nothing.
just make sure,
Yeah,
it's not a
let's
pattern.
just make sure it's not a pattern. I was like, if it happens again, let me know. I was like, he probably drank extra water that day, didn't get let out, and
Yeah.
he had to pee.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, if he does that again now, yeah, we'll address it. But like, don't worry about that stuff unless it's like something that continues to keep happening.
Right. Yeah.
Because dogs are weird sometimes.
Dogs do be weird.
They do be weird.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Anyway.
Any other thoughts about holiday safety?
holiday safety. Maybe the morning of 4th of July, get some good exercise for your dog.
Yeah,
Get-
exercise
work
is a good idea.
work that little brain, do a training session, get prepared for it, and then go into it with a calm, confident energy. Don't go into it wringing your own hands and saying, when are the fireworks going to start? And be like, oh no, this is going to be terrible. Go into it and lead your dog through it with your calm, confident energy.
Yeah. That's a great advice.
It is a really good one. But yeah, thanks for joining us, guys.
Yes, I hope you have a safe 4th of July with your pet.
Yeah.
And your, in your family. That's important too.
Enjoy it.
America,
America.
Happy birthday.
happy
Is it
birthday.
America's birthday?
Oh gosh, Bridget, you don't even know what Independence Day is?
No, I'm from the Netherlands.
It's to celebrate when we said fuck you to the British.
Oh,
Yeah.
damn. My education just
I've
wasn't
been
that good.
disappointed in people before, Bridget, but
That's the next level.
Sorry.
that's all right. I'm just kidding.
I'm a Canadian citizen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Alrighty. Have
All
fun.
right.
Be
Bye,
safe.
everyone.
Bye.